Hi, this is Bloodshot 9001. I'm making this video series to help people who are interested in speedrunning Doom Eternal, no major glitches. In this first video, I'll be explaining some of the resources you can use to start speedrunning, including the rules for the category. In addition, I'll be showing off several tricks that are used throughout the entire speedrun. Future episodes will cover specific levels and their skips, and will assume that you know how to perform the tricks required on a basic level. If you ever need a refresher on how those tricks are done, there will be timestamps in the description of this video for each trick. This is the speedrun.com page for Doom Eternal. From here, you can click on any of the tabs for any category, and you can view the rules for that category, along with the rules for speedrunning the game in general. I won't be going over the rules for No Major Glitches in this video because you can go and read them from here, and I suggest that you just make sure you know what the rules are and what tricks are and aren't allowed for whatever category you'd like to run. When it comes to version differences, as of today, August 27th, when I'm recording this, version 1.1 of Doom Eternal is the fastest patch for running no major glitches. It's about the same as version 1.0, and version 1.2 and above have certain things that are patched out that make the game a little bit slower. You can generally run the game on any patch and have a fine speed run, but if you want to be the most competitive at it, you want to run it on version 1.1. If you go to the Modern Doom Speedrunning Discord, there are tools that you can use to downpatch the game to version 1.1 if you are running the Steam version. Currently, I do not believe there is any way to downpatch the game if you are running the Bethesda version, so I apologize for those who want to downpatch but are running on the Bethesda version. There are a few settings that are important for running Doom Eternal. If you are running on version 1.1 or later, there's this double dash input option. You want to set that to hold. That allows you to hold your dash button and do 2 dashes. Otherwise, you have to manually press them. Holding is technically faster to do 2 dashes. You want to have auto switch weapon empty and new to off. Empty doesn't matter as much as new, but when you have new set to off, you no longer inspect weapons when you pick them up, which includes the chainsaw, the rocket launcher, and the ballista, so you don't have to waste time looking at them. And classic weapon pose you want to have off, as it can sometimes mess with lock-on burst with the rocket launcher. In UI, you want to turn menu confirmation time down to 0.1. This will reduce the time it takes for these circles to fill when you're menuing. And you want to scroll down to in-menu notifications and turn those off, as those are the pop-ups that appear when you get a weapon mod or unlock a new perk, and you no longer have to hit escape to remove those pop-ups as they won't be there. When it comes to keybinds, it doesn't actually matter what your keybinds are. There's only one thing that I'll mention, and that is that you want to bind jumping to either mouse wheel up or mouse wheel down. You can't do that through the Slayer bindings menu here. So what you have to do is you have to open up your console, which you do by hitting the tilde key, and then you have to type in bind M wheel down _ jump, with or without quotes. And when you hit enter, that will allow you to jump using the mouse wheel down, which is useful for bunny hopping, which we'll cover later. As for your other keybinds, there's not much else to say. It all depends on what you are most comfortable with. I do believe that when it comes to quick swapping your weapons later, you want to have all of your weapons close to your movement keys. So for me, I have my movement keys on WASD, and so I have all of my main weapons surrounding WASD. Everything else is just how I want it to be, comfortable for me, but you can use whatever keybinds you personally want to use. Before we talk about movement options, I'm going to stress that all of these tricks I'm doing, I'm using the air control rune. This is because a lot of movement is just easier with air control. For instance, if I want to show off bunny hopping here, you can see that I can only slowly turn when I don't have air control equipped. But if I equip air control, then I'm able to do turns while I'm bunny hopping. And I can even turn almost 180 degrees really quickly. So it is something to keep in mind that there are parts of the run where we don't have air control, but it is the first rune we get because it is just so vital for movement. So it's not really worth talking about non-air control movement, except for those specific levels where we won't have it. Bunny hopping is when you convert your vertical speed into horizontal speed, or more precisely, when you convert your falling speed into forward momentum. You can do this by hitting jump the moment you hit the ground, and as you can see here, I am not using my movement keys at all, and I'm still able to keep moving forward. That is because I'm hitting jump the moment I am hitting the ground. It is pretty generous, although it is not easy to hit with only spacebar. This is the reason that it is recommended to use the console to bind mouse wheel down or up to your jumping, because it lets you get more inputs and it makes bunny hopping much easier. As you can see, I am much more consistent at hitting good B hops when I use my mouse wheel down. Unlike Doom 2016, when you do a B hop, in addition to being able to maintain your momentum, you can also gain momentum off of your B hops, whether or not you're falling from a greater surface or not. Although, as you can see there, the farther you fall down, the greater the speed boost you'll normally get. But if you do it on a flat surface such as here, you'll find that you'll be able to increase your speed if you keep getting really good B hops. To change directions while you're doing movements such as bunny hopping, you have to be holding a direction and moving your mouse at the same time. In this instance, I'm holding forward, but you can hold any direction that you want to. If you stop holding a direction while bunny hopping and move your mouse, you simply move your mouse that direction and look that way. This can be useful if you're trying to shoot at something while moving in a different direction, but if you're trying to control exactly where your movement's going, you have to hold a direction while you're turning your mouse. Every weapon in Doom Eternal has some sort of either cooldown or fire rate. You can see this on the super shotgun with its reload animation, and you can see it with the precision bolt with its cooldown of those orange rings slowly turning gray. However, you can circumvent this cooldown by swapping to a different weapon. This is known as quick swapping. As you can see, I'm able to fire both the super shotgun and the precision bolt much faster than normal by swapping to them both. This is useful with the precision bolt, the ballista, the super shotgun, and the rockets, and you can interchange all four of them to do damage to higher health enemies. Swapping between all of your different weapons is about the same speed, although there is one caveat. When you switch back and forth between weapons and fire the rocket launcher, it fires slowly, even if you swap, except if you start with the precision bolt. Ballista boosting is when you use the recoil of the ballista that propels you backwards, and use it to propel yourself while in the air. You can also use ballista boosting by shooting downwards to give yourself more height for certain jumps. You can combine ballista boosting with quick swapping to extend your jumps by either shooting downwards on the second shot or backwards again. You can also shoot backwards after hitting a jump pad to give yourself even more velocity. And you can combine your ballista boost with bunny hopping. Dash boosting is when you convert your dash speed against a sloped surface into vertical momentum that can send you higher than even your normal jumps. To dash boost, you have to find the right type of surface. but when you do, you can send yourself really high, higher than even Ballista Boost jumping can get you. It's not always obvious what surface is going to actually let you dash boost, but if you look at the bottom, very often air control will start to flicker whether you can or can't dash boost. So that's one way of seeing whether you can dash boost against a surface. But it's dependent on the actual geometry, not what the surface looks like. So a lot of times you just have to practice and see what kind of dash boosts you can get off of some surfaces. The Meathook can be used in 3 different ways for movement options. The first is that if you grapple onto an enemy and then swap weapons, you can give yourself a bit of a boost of speed, similar to a Ballista Boost. The second is if you jump and then hook onto an enemy and break your hook with the jump, you can actually get even more height than normal. Something close to maybe 4 jumps, except the third jump is actually really high because it uses the momentum of the grapple. Note that jumping while grappled will actually remove your momentum, whatever your momentum was. This is important to keep in mind for the third movement option, which is Meathook boosts or Yeethooking, which is when you hold right after a hook and you fling yourself once the hook breaks. You can combine this technique with either the weapon wheel or Chrono Strike, which slows down time, to extend how far you go. Generally, the higher your FPS, the farther and faster you're going to go, which also extends to using Chrono Strike. If you're far enough away, a good way to use the weapon wheel version is to hold melee while your weapon wheel's up, and the moment you let go, the melee will break your chain. Swapping weapons or meleeing will break your chain early, allowing you to control exactly when the hook lets go. And much like Ballista Boosting, you can combine this type of movement with bunny hopping to get insane speeds. If you want to test all these movement options, Ballista Boosting, Yeethooking, and bunny hopping, I suggest going to this arena in Super Gore Nest. There's also a few dash boosts you can test in here. If you download Cheat Engine or Cheat Table for Doom Eternal, you can actually enable no target as a command, which will make you invisible to all enemies, which is what I've done here to this Cacodemon to use him as Meathook training, or a training dummy, so to speak. I highly recommend this arena just because of how open it is, and you can just test all sorts of movement options in here. I'll be doing the level tutorials next, and I'll be covering the specific tricks that go into those levels. And if I reference any tricks that were in this video, I'm just going to assume that you know how to do those on a basic level, and then I'll talk about the specifics of doing that trick for that skip on that level. The only other advice I would give you if you're just getting into speedrunning this category is just start doing runs. Don't try to figure out every skip, every trick right away. I think it's better to understand the run and where you can save time and what a skip is actually skipping rather than learning the skip first. That's how I started, and I just think that's the best way to go about starting your speedrunning of this game. With that, I hope these videos are helpful, and I'll see you on the next one.